Well, hello there, friends. Good morning. It is 5:30 a.m. and after fixing some problems with the stream, we are going to get started. We're going to get started on the live stream immediately. There we go. Everything seems to be working just fine. 5:29 a.m. Thanks for dropping by. Thanks for watching. For those of you dropping by, my name is Toby. I am 40 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. Do so by minding my sleep, minding what I eat, showing up for some training, trying to spend time with people I love and care about, and generally doing things that I enjoy and living a stress-free life. So if that's something you're interested in, then we can continue to have this conversation together about health and fitness in our 40s. So yeah, this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for whatever life is going to throw at me, and life could throw a lot at me. But this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I think that there are a couple of things we need to realize about health and fitness that are probably going to help us and maybe help us shift our mindset and the way we think about why health and fitness is important. So more than 50% of people in the country I live in is overweight, and a percentage of that, those people are obese. And there are some health challenges that come with carrying extra weight or being on a trajectory of putting on more and more weight over time. And I found that, in light of that, so for example, the prevalence of diabetes, 1.2 million people with diabetes type 2 in this country, which is about 1/18 of the population, a bit more, because I live in the Netherlands, is on the rise. And in some cases it can be prevented or reversed through lifestyle changes, but it is very hard, given the environment we live in, to actually stay fit and healthy. And I think for the more than 50%, I think it's closer to 60% of people that struggle with weight and consequentially all of the health challenges, maybe not immediately, but small things that will accumulate over time. It is very important to understand what really makes up being healthy and fit for a long life, rather than just doing what we think is good for our overall health and fitness. Because we could be fit but unhealthy, and we could be healthy but unfit, right? So we want to do both. Why? Because it's very likely I will live to be 90. And if I'm going to live to be 90, I would like to be capable and competent throughout my life, both physically and mentally, to be able to be self-sufficient, to take care of myself and do the things that I want to do. I would like to be discomfort and disease-free for as long as possible, and I would like to be able to make the most of life for as long as possible. Second reason is I have 2 kids. They are going to grow up. Sorry, it's hay fever season. They are going to grow up in this environment where there is too much food available, too many distractions, and unless we teach ourselves to do so, not enough opportunity to actually be physically active and engaged with the world around us. And what that means is that I would like to set an example for them for what an active life is, for what healthy food pattern is, for what being an active and healthy adult actually means, to show them that it is actually relatively simple and possible to live an active, healthy, and adventurous life, and to give them the skills and tools and knowledge and habits that will hopefully keep them healthy for as long as they're going to be around, because I think that is one of the most important things I can do as a parent. That all translates into a couple of things. First of all, a 30-minute workout, which I'm about to do right now, and then an overall active lifestyle, which I talk about a bit more during the workout. I actually won't be talking that much today, but let's see how that goes. And then afterwards, I'm going to switch to a different stream, because we're going to be talking from the kitchen as I have my morning coffee. And that is going to be before I go on a 30-minute steady state low intensity walk this morning. Let's see. Abusies, hey, thanks for dropping by. It's good to see you again. I hope you're doing well. I mean, everyone has a life, right? It would be nice if people could drop by every time I live stream, but I think there are more important things in life than spending time watching me live stream and working out, like getting good sleep ourselves, preparing proper food for ourselves, or doing our own workouts. But it's good to hear that you're doing all right, and I hope that that life in LA is doing well, and I've been doing pretty well. I've been on holidays, and now I am back, and we're trying to get back into the rhythm of working out at 5, and I'm running a bit behind schedule because I had an issue with the way I'd set up the live stream this morning. And I appreciate you dropping by, and I hope you notice that I'm now streaming horizontally for the workouts. So we're evolving the workouts from vertical to horizontal. And we are just going to get started with a little bit of mobility, not a lot. And so when we're thinking about an active lifestyle and what that means, I'll sketch out to you why I think it is so important for us to actually consider this and come to terms with this idea. We don't move enough, and 30 or 60 minutes in the gym 3 times a week is not going to make that big of a difference in terms of our overall activity level throughout the day. And without us realizing it, this extreme lack of movement that we have built in to our lives is what is one of the drivers. Just warming up here. Is one of the drivers, of the lack of health and fitness that we see around us every day. And I think we need to realize and be a bit more honest with ourselves. In terms of how much we actually move in a day. BC, thanks for dropping by, and I appreciate you dropping by and saying hi, and I'm happy to hear that you found the channel interesting enough to subscribe. And I hope that we continue to produce relevant and interesting content for you to stay subscribed, and hopefully also the conversations will help you on your health and fitness journey. So this is an 8-kilo kettlebell for the ones who've been paying attention. I am still recovering from a back injury. I hurt my back, I think now 5 weeks ago. And I have decided that it is okay to train with a lightweight, but nothing heavy yet, till I see how my body responds to lifting weights. I say this because I've been lifting my children off the floor and playing with them for the last 3 weeks without issue. So, at least in terms of how my back feels, we're doing all right. And we need to make sure that it stays all right over time. So we're doing a relatively simple circuit every minute on minute. Push-ups, squats, rows, and that's going to be the extent of it today, because I won't be doing any sort of swings in the foreseeable future. We'll be adding more and more back into the workout over time. But hey, we were talking about the lack of movement in our day-to-day lives and the detrimental effect that has on our health and fitness. So let's just refocus the conversation on that. Look, we sleep in a bed. We lie down. Hopefully you're getting 8 hours of sleep. That would be ideal for me. I usually manage anywhere between 7 and 7.5. Even though I would like that to be a bit more, it doesn't always work out that way. But maybe you're sleeping less, 6 hours. If you're lying down for 6 hours, maybe you're sleeping a bit more for 8 hours. If you're lying down for 8 hours, then what do? You get up, you sit down for breakfast. You might be standing still, slightly in the kitchen, for a little while in the kitchen. But then you just get on with your day, isn't that right? You probably have a commute that is either a train or a car or a subway, unless you're very lucky and you live within walking or cycling distance of your within cycling distance of your job. Right. So we sit at a desk after that for most of the day. Then we do the commute in reverse, right? Then we sit down for dinner. Then we sit down for dinner. And once we've sat down for dinner, we sit down to relax on the couch, probably distract ourselves with some TV shows. Or we have other things to do that might require a computer, and we need to sit down. In either way, we spend a lot of time sitting. By design, this is the way the world has been designed for us to live in. What this doesn't allow us to do, even with an hour for the gym in maybe 2 or 3 times a week, is allow us to move sufficiently throughout the day to meet even the minimum activity requirements. Now, the bare minimum would be 30 minutes every day, give or take. And barring strength training, simply going out for a walk for 30 minutes, where our heart rate comes up to about 50-60% of our max. All right? So nothing extraordinary. Simply just moving around for about 30 minutes. You combine that with that strength training that you're doing 3 times a week, you might find yourself being moderately healthy, at least fit, but still not entirely on track for a long, healthy, disease and discomfort-free, active life from now until the future. And why is that? Well, that has several different factors that we need to consider. We already talked about sleep. We need to talk about nutrition. And then we need to talk about movement and activity. And I split activity into just movement general into everyday activities, light activities, as well as training, because those are 2 separate things. And we need both, especially after 30, because like I've explained before, we cannot avoid physical deterioration. After a certain age. So we will need both physical activity to maintain a baseline and training to set certain baselines and recuperate some of the strength conditioning, bone density that we lose naturally as we age. In other words, at one point in life, health and fitness becomes a slightly uphill battle, and one that, as a society as a whole at the moment, we are absolutely losing. And there's no reason for us to be losing, because we have everything it takes to actually stay fit and healthy, and then some. So we need to ask ourselves, what's going on, and why are things the way they are? Why are we perceiving this trend, seeing this trend of us all simply being unhealthy? And what can we actually do about that? Well, in truth, there's quite a bit we can do about it. So let's just be mindful of that. But it is simple, not easy. And it is simple because the basics are relatively straightforward. We need to sleep better. We need to eat smarter. And we need to move more. Yeah. But it's not easy because of the environment that we've created for ourselves in this world. Where there are many opportunities for us to distract ourselves that impede the quality of our sleep, right? You know what I'm talking about. The endless scrolling at night, being on your phone, watching series, binge watching, as in sacrificing sleep for that next episode and that next episode. Not eating well enough in two directions. First of all, we are eating too much because it is made too easy to overconsume calories, energy in this world that we live in, because food is simply available. You can find food within reach, within 5 or 10 minutes of walking, probably without a lot of discomfort to yourself, or even have it delivered to your home relatively quickly and easily without any hassle, right, to you. So there's always food available. And the types of food that we eat, not that these are the only ones that are available, but the foods that are convenient and palatable, which is a fancy word for tasty, are calorie dense. To a point where you need to wonder, what the point is of eating 100 calories packaged into something this size, right? That's quite tiny, to say the least, right? Something the size of the watch face, so to speak, can pack 50 to 100 calories. Yeah. But be low in fiber content, be low in water content, be low in micronutrient content. Basically only pack energy. So it will leave you hungry more than anything else. And I'm not sure how true this is, but this is important for us to realize. That I heard somewhere that we can consume up to 70 calories a minute at the moment through the foods that are available. And I already explained the other day, I'm not a big fan of counting calories in exercise, but it can give us a bit of an approximation, right? So if I can consume 70 calories to the minute, yeah, that means in 10 minutes I can consume 700 calories. 10 minutes, okay? In 10 minutes of exercise, I might burn between 60 and 100 calories, all right? So that 700 calorie snack that I munch down in 10 minutes, it's going to take at least an hour of moderate to intense activity to actually use. And I think you can start seeing the problem here, because there is no one in the universe that I know, no one who eats a sleeve of Oreos, for example, yeah, only to then happily go out for a 2-hour run, or run 15 to 20 kilometers for the sake of running it right after eating that many calories packed into, for example, those kinds of snacks. But it could be anything else. There's a lot of processed food out there. You might think, well, 100 calorie snack here and there, 200, it's not a problem. If you start off your day with one of those big coffees filled with cream and milk and sugar and caramel drizzle and who knows what else. It's not a coffee, that's a soft drink or a dessert, right? It's a treat. You don't move enough throughout the day, I'm sorry, to warrant that. And you know that because when you look in the mirror or you stand on the scale, you see yourself getting a bit softer, slightly rounder, and maybe a bit heavier every week. Every other week we stop getting on the scale, pants get tighter, we buy new pants, not less food, right? This is what we do. So there are too many distractions, and it's too easy to overconsume any amount of calories that we might want to eat, because food is available, and the types of food are available are very tasty, high in energy, low in general nutritional value. To give you the same idea, for me to consume a 500 calorie salad, yeah, so a lot of greens, a lot of tasty stuff, some bite to it, would take me a good 15 to 20 minutes of chewing. So I want you to think about the difference there, right? 700 calories in 10 minutes or 500 calories in 20 minutes of chewing, and cutting, and swallowing, barring the 15 minutes. It's probably going to take me to actually prepare the food. Okay? So, what does that mean? That means that when we eat whole foods, proper salad has protein, carbohydrates, fats from different sources in it, lots of leaves, lots of fiber, high water content, large volume, right? So it tells my stomach that it is filling up way quicker than when I eat foods that are calorie dense. But lacking any kind of volume or meaningful content. So I just want you to see the difference or think about the difference there. And the third challenge we have is that we've set up the environment to absolutely eliminate or minimize movement in favor of problem number one, which is distraction. We would rather be sitting and be distracted and be doing nothing that contributes to our own relationships, well-being, community, even though we have been led to believe that we are. But we would rather not. We would just sit and watch and consume. I think podcasts in that sense are an exception because we usually listen to those while we're doing something else like workout. Like I said, that is more of an exception than that is actually something that we do consciously. It's just a habit that comes with podcasting. So you take those three things together, you start to have less and less time to spend with people you love and care about. Or to do things that you might actually enjoy. Have those hobbies and pursuits because you're here working or distracting yourself. Right? Not a lot of space for movement. And we then try to jam in training, but we're not sleeping well. We're not eating well, which means we're not recovering or fueling growth and improvement. So the entire mix, right, is off. And until we all gain that insight and we start to look at the general pattern of our life, we are not going to be able to make the changes we need to make to become fitter and healthier and to be active and adventurous for as long as we're alive to decrease the risks we run of developing different kinds of diseases, of which our cardiovascular health and our BMI combined with the waist circumference, specifically an expanding waist circumference, are going to be prime indicators of. But remember, you could be fit and unhealthy, or healthy and unfit, and you wouldn't necessarily know it, because you'll feel more or less okay, or you'll be convinced that you're doing all the right things right. In any case, friend, that's all I have for you this morning in terms of the workout. It was a light workout because I am trying to give my back a chance to slowly ease back into the training that we want to be doing. I hope this was interesting. I hope it was a good workout. And Busey's, thanks for dropping by. BC, I appreciate you dropping by, saying hi. Thanks for the likes, for the comments in the chat, for letting me know you dropped by, said hi. I hope the conversation was useful. And if anyone's interested, I'm going to set up in the kitchen and make myself a cup of coffee and continue this conversation. But I'm also happy to wish you a happy rest of the day. Remember, we're good just the way we are. We've got to love ourselves before we can move on. It's the person we are today who's going to get us to where we want to be tomorrow. So a bit of kindness probably is going to go a long way, all right? There are enough people out there who want to put us down, so we definitely should lift ourselves and, in this community, each other up. Remember, friends, this is about the way I feel, not about the way I look. I'm 41 years old, happily married, father of 2 wonderful boys, husband to a wonderful wife. I have no interest in working on my aesthetics and my looks. This is about staying healthy and fit for the things that matter in life, which apparently I'm not even halfway through yet. It's not something you're interested in. Go ahead, hit subscribe, and we can continue the conversation. And in any case, the only way to get anything done is by showing up and doing the work. So I will see you tomorrow, friend. And remember, subscribe.